Welcome! Sorcerer is not dead. Tons of fun is waiting for you. Dropping meteors from the sky, obliterating everything in your path. Will it get to pit 150? Absolutely not. Can you make a good build with a reasonable time investment, minimal gear, that still slaps and is enjoyable to play in Torment 4, pit 90, even up to pit 100? Absolutely yes. How does it work? How do Witchcraft powers make it better? And most importantly, what do you actually play to level to this point? Because we took only 2 hours to level 60. Easy going. Now, in order to start playing Meteor Sorc, you need to get the Starfall Coronet. Why is that? Meteor's mana cost is replaced with a 3.7 second cooldown and 3 total charges. You need to have this 4 seconds or below. Casting a meteor drops 3 additional meteors around the target. And as you can see, plus 12 ranks to Meteor is possible. And that's not even with a greater affix and only 2 times masterwork. This is your most important key piece, and it gets followed up by a second one. And that would be Talrasha's Iridescent Loop for the 18% cooldown reduction greater affix. Sure, casting a Pyromancy, Shock, Frost skill multiplies your damage upwards, but the cooldown reduction is really important because if your Meteor is just sitting at 3.7 seconds, well, after spamming 3 empty, it'll take a while to come back. Now, let me tell you though, that these two things would not give you enough damage yet. You see me standing there and spamming Meteor, but what else am I spamming? The ultimate skill, Inferno, over and over and over and over again. And while we're standing in the Inferno, our Pyromancy skills do another 50% bonus damage. Not only that, with the aspect of Armageddon, we do 500% more Meteor damage while Inferno is active, which means Inferno needs to be always active. Look at the tempering, 32.1% Inferno cooldown reduction. Another tempering, 23.6% Inferno cooldown reduction. Together with Talrasha's Iridescent Loop, together with a cooldown reduction on the amulet in total, we're sitting at 10.67 seconds. Still not low enough though. That's why we're bringing the Orange Herald, up to an 11.5% chance to reduce the cooldown of your ultimate skill by 2 seconds. Can only happen once per skill cast. With all the bonus meteors dropping at a 50% lucky hit chance, this triggers quite often to have you permanently spam Inferno. And that's the point. If you're not able to spam Inferno, if you don't have the damage multiplier from the Armageddon aspect, and the Iridescent Loop plus the Starfall Coronet, I would not yet swap over to Meteor. You gotta play the LvlIng build until here. Don't worry, we'll get to the LvlIng build in a second. It doesn't require a single thing to work, which is the most amazing fun about it. Now there's a final piece that's missing, and that's the aspect on my wand. Meteorites fall around Meteor. So you do a Meteor and more meteorites fall around, dealing 90% of Meteor's damage on impact. Cool. You got your Meteor do 500% bonus damage. And then there's bonus meteors falling around that do 90% of these 500% damage meteors. And they do an additional heavy burn damage. That's great. All these pieces together have you already fly. If you're now adding a rune combo called Yule Zek, which says cast a skill with a cooldown, namely being Meteor, Teleport, Flame Shield, Ice Armor, Inferno, anything we're doing, reduce your active ultimate cooldown by 1 second. This has had me just like, I never not have Inferno. And it's so easy to play. I teleport in, I drop my Inferno, I hold down my Meteor button. That's right now what I'm doing. I'm holding down my Meteor button, and then I'm just spamming Inferno. And that's it. I stand in the middle of the mobs, spamming my Inferno, spamming my cooldowns, but I hold down my right mouse button, and that is about it. Right? So, like, you don't have to do any specific rotation. It's more about just consistently getting your meteors out because that is your damage. And then whenever the Inferno is off cooldown, you'll do it. Now, in between, you're weaving in your cooldowns because we're playing here the Enlightened. And Enlightened gets charges whenever you use a skill. But if the skill was of a different element, you actually get 8 charges instead of 1 charge. Which means with a permanent Meteor spam, and then followed up by any other elements in between, you have then Ice Meteor, Lightning Meteor, Ice Meteor, Lightning Meteor. Just make sure that you don't do Ice between each other, which will really not happen because of all the meteors that you're dropping on your opponents. But if you wanted to know, is the boss damage actually good? You'll be perfectly fine taking out any Torment 4 challenge yourself, easy peasy lemon squeezy, just really standing AFK on them while dropping your meteors and everything on their head. Again, no special like skill combination needed apart from mixing your elements. You don't even have to dodge any damage. You can just really stand there and go away at them. It's beautiful. I've personally cleared now up to pit 95 with this build, but for pit 100, I still need better gear. And my glyphs are only 46, 46, 46, and 54. Now, what do you do until this point though? What would you play to get here if you don't have the pieces? That's actually quite simple. We played an Incinerate Sorc. The whole planner is linked in the description below for that with a LvlIng pass. And it was so amazing because it didn't need anything. You simply run around, incinerate, and everything falls in front of you. And we did a very interesting test here. I ran the whole LvlIng from 1 to 60 in the hard difficulty, and it took me 2 hours and 11 minutes. My rogue did it in the expert difficulty with Penitent at the end, and took 2 hours and 20 minutes. Yes, so Incinerate Sorc was an absolute blast to go through, and I could straight away jump into Torment 2. For this, I needed the aspect of Conflagration, Flamethrower, and Overheating. That was enough to then clear all the bosses I had to kill, because for the Starfall Coronet, you had to take out the Beast of Ice, and for the Iridescent Loop, we had to kill Varshan. But we did that in Torment 2, picked up the helmet, swapped over to Meteor, boom, Torment 3 straight away, little bit work, Torment 4 already. Done. Now let's go over the skills, gear, what you need to master work there, and what greater affix should be, Paragon Board, Witchcraft powers, and your Mercenary. And for the skills, we tried something experimental. 2 ranks in Firebolt with 1 rank into Potent Warding and 3 into Elemental Dominance. Then you skip over everything else. Flame Shield, nothing here. Teleport with the damage reduction. Into Glass Cannon for more damage with the Ice Armor. And I would like to have these 2 points, but I simply do not have any points to pick in here for the bonus chill. In my case, I had to temper a lucky hit chance to freeze on 1 piece of equipment to make up for that. Because in the next part, we're playing Ice Blades together with the Roaring Ice Blades for the cooldown reduction. And then we get Familiar into the Invoked Familiar. And with Primordial Binding and 10 stacks, we're making ourselves wholesale stronger. It did work nicely out with Familiar being our second enchantment. You can also go for the Teleport, but I did not feel that necessary. Using our cooldowns also grants us Barrier, and that's how we're consistently staying barriered up. Now we get 23 out of 5 ranks in Meteor already, but that's weak. You can get so much more easy. We'll go over that in the gearing section. With Devouring Blaze and Inner Flames, Devouring Blaze is also where you want the bonus ranks. It's 10% more damage. 5 ranks into Inferno, since the 5 ranks into Inferno have everyone be vulnerable, and it gives you 50% bonus damage. Then, your Frost, Shock, and Pyromancy skills deal increased damage for each skill you have equipped of their type, and as you can see, we get all of the elements going on. Now we get here Frost bonus damage, which seems a bit weird, but we play Enlightenment. Casting any skill grants you 1 stack of Enlightenment, or grants 8 if your previous skill was a different element. Ergo, we're spamming Meteor, and then in between you got your Ice Blades, Meteor, Frost Ice Armor, Meteor, Flame Shield, into maybe Ice Armor straight away, into Meteor, and then Teleport into Meteor. To get the stacks up as fast as possible, because after gaining 100 stacks, you can become Enlightened, and while Enlightened, your bonus damage from Fire, Cold, and Lightning all adds together for bonus damage. They're all equal. So your meteors are suddenly getting the bonus from everything. Now we're getting more damage and attack speed. Fantastic. For the enchantment, we're running Ice Blades for the bonus cooldown reduction and the Familiar to have the Familiar out to get the bonus damage to all elements, to then have the bonus damage with all elements be more useful with Enlightenment. It is nicely boosting your damage. If you feel like you need the damage reduction, the Teleport can help immensely there. But it seemed like a little crutch and the Familiar just worked better. Let's throw that in-depth look at the gear. We talked about the Starfall Coronet from the Beast of Ice. The greater affix needs to be on the Meteor. You don't want it on the cooldown reduction, size, or intelligence. You 100% want it on the Meteor, and then 4 seconds and below. Would be perfect if you had a 3-second one, but the ranks in Meteor are your biggest damage multiplier. Without the helmet, we're sitting at a 240% to our damage. And with the helmet, it's 384%. Every single rank more just gets it up so much. Your amulet wants to have the greater affix on intelligence, then having critical strike is nice and cooldown reduction. The critical strike chance in this case could also be ranks to Devouring Blaze. We're tempering Pyromancy critical strike damage and then Inferno cooldown, plus the Armageddon aspect for that 500% bonus damage. For Talrash's Iridescent Loop, you want to have the 25% because you're stacking these damages on top of each other. So 25, 25, 25 is 75. My 18% does not compete with that right now. But you also want the greater affix cooldown reduction. Potent Warding, Lucky Hit Chance, physical damage doesn't matter. If you get the greater affix cooldown reduction and then the effect 20% and beyond, you're fine. I only have 18.3, but I tried a lot and I got frustrated. Now your second ring needs to be critical strike chance. We need to get the critical strike chance up. Is so important. Bonus attack speed is nice, intelligence amazing. Then Pyromancy critical strike damage and the Inferno cooldown reduction. The Inferno cooldown reduction is also on the amulet. We want to get that ultimate cooldown down as much as possible. Together with a Vehement Brawler, that is another 30% bonus damage as you use your ulti. We always use our ulti every 8 seconds, even more. And we get 2 additional ranks, which has your ulti do great damage too. Your wand is rocking vulnerable damage, maximum life, and intelligence. Intelligence as the greater affix would be great. That's 500. Works really good together with your amulet. My index has 2,000 plus. I would like to have 2,500, almost 3,000 would be great. Pyromancy critical strike, and then chance for Meteor to deal double damage. And obviously, if you could get all your masterworks to hit the Meteor to deal double damage, that would be preferred. Together then with the Shattered Stars aspect for that 90% bonus damage. In my case, I'm also running the Cast Ultimate Skill rune for another 25% bonus critical strike chance. That's crazy. With this and the 2 tempers, I'm sitting around 70% right now. That's amazing because crit is all we do. Now for the pens, we simply play Tacit of the Dawning Sky because that is 80 resistance to all elements. Now the only reason I play this is because I don't have another good piece of pens. If you find a good piece of pens with an armor and resistance to all elements and intelligence, you can kick the Tacit out, and I'll add that to the planner accordingly how a normal pens would look. The Tacit is just the simpler solution. You do see dexterity gems in it because it's my rogue's pants. Usually there would be intelligence gems in here. For the boots, you want the greater affix to Meteor. Yes, this is mastery skilled 3 right now, but you can get up to 8 ranks to Meteor. That's 5 more ranks what I have right now. That would be another 40% bonus damage on the Meteor. That's crazy. And the lucky hit chance to freeze would be amazing, plus movement speed. Then Orange Herald is a must to reduce our ultimate skill cooldown. Gloves want you to have the core skills, and greater affix would be preferred. Instead of maximum life, we would be looking for critical strike chance here as well. Then Meteor size or lucky hit chance to freeze. Doesn't matter which piece you actually get the lucky hit chance to freeze on, just get it on one piece. And the Pyromancy crit. Then you deal 30% increased damage while ice armor is active. And the amount is increased by another 15% against frozen enemies. Ergo, you want your enemies to be frozen. The chest piece could be the Shroud of the False Death. I don't have it. Therefore, casting Ice Armor makes you unstoppable and grants 25% damage reduction. This aspect would usually go over to your pants where my Tacit is right now, if you had the Shroud of False Death, which I don't have. To your Witchcraft powers, Pyronado is great. It pulls everything together and makes your meteors even better as everything is just stands together. With the R of Siphoning to heal you and do more damage. Then the R specialization for more critical strike damage. Into the Hex of Flames. We have a 60% chance to inflict the Hex of Flames, and then we deal additional fire damage to them. That fire damage explodes on critical strikes. That is an amazing bonus DPS for the Meteor. Together with the Soul Harvest, and keep in mind, Soul Harvest is somewhat bugged still. I'm not sure if the next patch is going to fix it. You want to use your first cooldown inside the biggest mob pack you can find at the start of the pit, dungeon, wherever, because it snapshots to that pack. If you get it 10 times working for the rest of the dungeon, it's, well, you gain 10%. If it's only 3 mobs, it's only 3% for the rest of the dungeon. It's weird, but it is what it is. Lastly, we get the Shaken Soul. That being said, we have our enemies permanently vulnerable with our ulti, so we can take the Shaken Soul out. It was in at the time where I couldn't just spam the Inferno yet wholeheartedly. And you could simply make your hexes more potent and gain another 20% critical strike chance against enemies afflicted by your hexes. This should come in very perfect together with the Hex of Flames to bring us up to 100% crit chance. For the Merc, we're currently rocking Variana for just some bonus attack speed that we can truly spam out the meteors like crazy. Could also go for Subo for bonus damage. And then I'm playing Rahir for Bastion that I get my Globe of I am unstoppable and I don't take damage, to just stand there and spam meteors. Especially against bosses, this gives you 5 seconds of just not having to move at all. To the Paragon Board, with your Tactician, which would boost their rare glyphs and give you 15% increased damage for 4 seconds after casting a defensive skill. Make sure that, well, every 4 seconds you have a defensive skill. Then into the Searing Heat board, for pyromancy skills have a 12% increased critical strike chance, and all of your skills deal increased direct damage equal to 10% of your critical strike damage bonus. That needs to be at 60%. Then we get the Exploit glyph for that bonus vulnerable damage and vulnerable damage multiplier. This also multiplies up any vulnerable damage bonus you have on any piece of equipment. Into the Fundamental Release board, that gives you another 40% multiplier. On the Pyromaniac glyph, that boosts the rare notes here again for more vulnerable damage and non-physical damage. On top, all our fire damage gets another 5%. Amazing. Upwards from the Searing Heat into the Frigid Fade with another 60% multiplier. See, we're stacking all the multipliers, and the Elementalist rocking up the rare notes once again. With dealing fire, cold, or lightning damage to an enemy increases all damage you deal to them by 5% for 10 seconds, stacking once per element. And we do all the elements to them. Lastly, on the left, we get our Icefall bot. Your frost skills deal 25% increased damage. This bonus is doubled and granted to all skills if the enemy is frozen or a boss. Now it says your frost skills, but we get the enlightenment happening. And that's why you want enlightenment to happen as fast as possible, because then your bonus damage to all the things are applying to everything. And the Meteor gets the Icefall too. With the destruction for that 252% bonus critical strike damage. Woo. And your critical strike damage gets multiplied up. More crit, more damage, more multiplier. Same as goes with the vulnerable damage. Sorc might not be the strongest, but it is incredible fun and satisfying to play. And the path to power is very easy. Plus, if you would be trading, getting those Meteor pieces together is going to be cheap as hell. This will carry you easy into tier 4. You can kill any tormented boss and you'll just have tons of fun. If you're now looking for something more OP, Barbarian and Rogue are both up your alley. Enjoy and have a fantastic good day.